Hey everyone, Marcus Philly here with Functional Bodybuilding. I'm going to be doing a movement breakdown on the barbell hip thrust. I want to give you 3 quick tips on how to jump right into this exercise and get the most benefit out of it without falling victim to some of the common mistakes that I see. Well, first and foremost, the barbell hip thrust is definitely a glute and hamstring exercise. The back of the legs here, we want to really be focused on that, and the way you can really get the best contraction in those areas is by getting your setup correct. If you set up incorrectly, you're going to be straining for balance. You might be overworking the wrong areas, and you might be putting maybe more strain on your back. So a correct setup for me looks like getting the right height of a bench behind you. Unfortunately, most people end up using a standard bench in the gym, and that is not always the optimal height for you. People with shorter torsos might need smaller benches, and I'll show you a couple options. What I have here is actually like a hip thrust pad that is adjustable inside my squat rack, and I have placed this at what feels like the right height for me. When I lean back on this, the pad itself is right beneath my shoulder blades. It's not up in my upper back, it's not on my lower back, it's right beneath my shoulder blades. The next thing I want to think about is how far out am I going to place my feet? If I put my feet out too far, I'm going to be in trouble. If I place my feet too close, I'm going to maybe be working my quads too much. I want to find the right middle ground where when I lift up with my hips, I'm kind of at this 90-degree angle at my knees, and I have this tabletop position. Okay, the last thing is kind of maybe where you're going to place your hands. I like to press my hands against the bar. And if I'm doing heavy hip thrusts, putting a pad underneath this barbell is going to make a huge world of difference in terms of comfort. If you're lifting heavy, which this exercise is designed to go quite heavy because this is a short range of motion with big, powerful muscles moving through that short range of motion, you do want to probably have something padded or a sweatshirt or something like that that you can slide underneath the bar. So once I'm in position, then now we can get into the movement cues. So the movement cue here is lifting our hips straight up, we're squeezing our butts, and we're trying to tuck our rib cage down, and that can be accomplished by basically just staring at your knees. If I look up, I run the risk of arching my back and not placing the load on my glutes, but then moving it up into my low back. So I'm gonna keep my rib cage down. I'm gonna stare down at my knees. This is the top of my contraction. I don't need to go higher than this. I've got a full contraction of my glutes, and then it's back down to the ground. Up and back down to the ground. Now, a couple mistakes I want to show you, and I'll go over here. Let's go over to this bench. This bench, standard bench height, it hits me right in my upper trap, or like right in the middle of my trap above my shoulder blades. So I would have to hike up my shoulders a little bit to get into the right position for this. Now, while the force is going straight up, there is no question that there's some backward pressure into the bench when you do a hip thrust, a heavy hip thrust. If you're using a standard bench in the gym that's not really heavy, you are going to run into some rocking and some tipping. That is definitely going to mess up your mechanics, and it's not going to allow you to go heavy, and you're going to be having to fight to do something to balance and to avoid tipping over. So I recommend placing something heavy like a dumbbell, or really weighting this down with some weight plates, or shoving it up against your squat rack or something that's immovable. You want this to be rock solid. That's why I love my hip thrust pad over there. An alternative to this, if you can't get the right height set up for you with a bench, is a heavy sandbag or a medicine ball. The same thing is true here. You do not want this to be rolling around on you. So wedge a dumbbell underneath it so it doesn't move, or get the 150-pound sandbag that you have laying around. That won't move on you either. But now this height is actually a little bit more aligned to what my hip thrust pad is over there, and I can get a really effective upper body position so that I can really focus on my glute drive, my hamstring drive, and not be worried about having to arch and get my back up into the right position on a bench that's too high for me. I hope those tips help you out. I hope you have better hip thrusting and better glute gains. I'll catch you guys next time.